RHOA NeNe leaks son Bryson missing amid drug troubles. RHOA NeNe leaks son, Bryson Bryant, has gone missing amid drug troubles. He apparently has been gone for some time, but this is the first that has been reported on it. So when was the last time Bryson was seen, and what is known thus far? Keep reading for more details. NeNe leaks son Bryson missing amid drug troubles. It has not been the easiest time for NeNe Leakes, as she has lost her husband, Greg Leakes. He passed away in 2021 from colon cancer. Though the two had a rough marriage, they were able to find their way back to one another, and losing him was very hard. RHOA fans had come to know and love Greg, and could not see NeNe with anyone but him. Along with that, their son, Brent, had a bevy of heart issues. He suffered a stroke and congestive heart failure at the tender age of 23. Luckily, he received a heart transplant and went on to lose 100 pounds. That helped him kickstart his life all over again. Then there was NeNe's oldest son, Bryson Bryant. He was arrested in the summer of 2023. When he was initially pulled over, he used his brother's name. Furthermore, Bryson was in possession of fentanyl, which he claimed he was unaware of. In order to get a lesser charge, he agreed to take officers to the dealer's home. Bryson was held behind bars until October and was ultimately sentenced to 12 months probation, a $500 fine, and 40 hours of community service. Now, according to In Touch Weekly, Bryson cannot be located. Per an affidavit, his probation officer has tried to locate NeNe Leakes' son twice, once on August 14th and the other time on September 30th. He even tried to call him on his cell phone to no avail. That was when he checked the jail logs to see if Bryson had been arrested, but he had not. A letter was ultimately sent to Bryson's home, but as of October 3rd, nothing has been heard or updated. NeNe knows of her son's struggles but does not know what to do. At a loss. When Bryson was arrested, NeNe Leakes was at a loss as to what to do with her son. She had already been through it with Greg and Brent, so this was just pushing her over the edge. NeNe said this of her son and his struggles. So NeNe has taken a step back from her son, and is allowing him to do what he needs to. However, she has not yet spoken out on the current situation of him being MIA. At this point, she likely won't address it, and that is fine. Hopefully, Bryson will be located and everything is fine with him. This would be just too much for any parent to take. The usually vibrant and unbreakable NeNe Leakes sat on the edge of her sofa, her phone clutched tightly in her hands. The endless stream of calls to Bryson's phone had gone straight to voicemail. Her son was missing, again. The anxiety that had gripped her heart for months, as Bryson spiraled deeper into his battle with substance abuse, now tightened like a vice. "Where are you, baby?" she whispered, her voice cracking with desperation. The once confident RHOA queen, known for her sharp wit and iconic one-liners, was now a mother lost in worry. It had been weeks since she last saw him. Their last conversation was tense. NeNe had begged Bryson to go to rehab. A real program this time, not the court-mandated ones he coasted through to satisfy a judge. "Ma, I got this," he'd said, his eyes glassy and distant. "Don't stress." But NeNe knew better. Her son's "I got this" was code for "I'm not ready to face it." The television in the background blared a rerun of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. There she was, larger than life, laughing and commanding the screen. The NeNe on TV seemed like a stranger to the woman sitting here now, paralyzed by fear. She muted the TV and dialed his best friend Tony. "Tony, please, any news?" she asked. "Nah, Ms. Leakes. I ain't seen Beery since last weekend. He was talking about going to some house party over in East Point, though," Tony said, sounding unsure. "East Point? Where?" "Some trap house, ma'am. I told him not to go, but—" NeNe closed her eyes. The trap houses, the sketchy parties, the shadowy figures who promised her son quick highs and easy escapes. It was a cycle she'd seen too many times. She thanked Tony and hung up, her pulse racing. "Marlo," she called out, grabbing her purse and keys. Marlo Hampton, her longtime friend and confidant, had stayed over for emotional support. Within seconds, Marlo appeared, dressed in leggings and a hoodie. "What happened?" Marlo asked, worry etched across her face. "Bryson might be in East Point. We gotta go," NeNe said. "Girl, are you sure you want to go yourself?" "He's my son," NeNe said simply. The drive to East Point was quiet. Marlo kept glancing at NeNe, who gripped the steering wheel like it was the only thing keeping her from unraveling. The neighborhood grew rougher the deeper they went, the streetlights dimmer, the houses more dilapidated. Finally, they reached the address Tony had given. A cluster of young men loitered on the porch of a rundown house, laughing and passing around something NeNe didn't want to identify. She parked across the street and exhaled deeply. "Stay here," she told Marlo. "Hell no," Marlo said, opening her door. "I'm not letting you go in there alone." Together, they crossed the street. The men on the porch straightened as the two women approached. "Hey, ain't you that lady from TV?" one of them asked, squinting. "Yeah, I'm NeNe Leakes," she said, her voice firm. "I'm looking for my son Bryson. You all seen him?" The men exchanged glances. "Bryson Bryant," she said louder. "Tall, skinny. Real talkative when he's high. He was here a couple nights ago," one finally admitted. "Came in looking rough. Left with some chick named Lala." "Where does Lala live?" "Off Old National," the man said. NeNe fumbled for her phone and showed them a picture of Bryson. "You sure it was him?" "Yeah, lady. I'm sure. He ain't looked too good." The pit in NeNe's stomach grew heavier. Back in the car, she relayed the information to Marlo. "Old National's got a dozen sketchy spots," Marlo said. "Then we'll check them all," NeNe replied. The third stop was a grimy motel. NeNe walked to the front desk, flashing a picture of Bryson. The clerk hesitated. "Yeah, he's in 2B, she whispered, glancing around. NeNe sprinted up the stairs, Marlo behind her. She pounded on 2B Bryson. "Baby, it's Ma." "Open up." Silence. Then footsteps. The door cracked open. Bryson stood there, gaunt and pale, his eyes sunken. "Ma," he whispered. "Baby," NeNe gasped, wrapping him in her arms. He didn't resist. "I'm sorry," he mumbled into her shoulder. "Let's go home," she said, cradling his face. "We'll get through this. Together." And for the first time in months, NeNe saw a flicker of hope in her son's haunted eyes. The Atlanta sun shone bright, casting a golden hue across the streets, but inside the Leakes household, an ominous shadow loomed. NeNe Leakes, the once vivacious and bold star of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, sat at her kitchen table, clutching her phone with trembling hands. Her son Bryson Bryant was missing. His battle with addiction had spiraled into a dark abyss, and now his absence felt like an echo of her worst fears. "Mama, have you heard from him?" Brent, Bryson's younger brother, asked from across the room. His voice cracked, betraying his calm facade. NeNe shook her head. "Not a word since 3 days ago," she whispered. Her mind raced through their last conversation. Bryson had been agitated, paranoid even. "Mama, I gotta get clean," he'd said, but fear was etched into every syllable. The journey with Bryson's addiction had been a long, winding road of hope and heartbreak. There were the good days when he promised to get better and the crushing ones when the drugs won. NeNe had fought alongside him, tried rehabs, interventions, tough love. Yet here they were again, this time with silence and unanswered calls. NeNe dialed Detective Morgan, the officer assigned to the missing person case. "Any updates?" she asked, her voice tight with desperation. "We tracked his phone to an abandoned warehouse downtown," Detective Morgan said. "We have units checking the area now." The mention of the warehouse made NeNe's heart plummet. She knew of the place. Bryson had mentioned it in the past as a meeting spot for others struggling with addiction, a haven turned hell. Hours later, NeNe and Brent drove to the warehouse. The building stood like a forgotten skeleton of better days, graffiti scaring its walls. Police cars lined the perimeter, blue and red lights painting the pavement in an eerie glow. Detective Morgan met them at the tape line. "We found his wallet and phone," he said softly, "but no sign of Bryson."